I'd like to begin by asking all of you a question. It's not complicated. It's just, what would you assume the leading cause of death for children in the United States is? How shocked would you be to find out that, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, more than any kind of injury or illness, more than cancer, diabetes, or heart disease, firearms are the leading cause of death for children in the United States? I would then like to follow that up by saying that in the first 10 days of 2024, we logged in 8 school shooting incidents. On January 4th, just 4 days into the year, we lost our first life to a school shooting. A young 11-year-old boy. His family would call him Smiley around the house because of how cheerful he was. Amir Joliffe, or I should say Smiley, was the kind of kid who would leave a box of toys in the front of his house so that anyone could play with them. He was fatally shot on the first day back from winter break. 7 others were injured. The K-12 school shooting database does a really fantastic job at providing a visualization for the number of school shooting incidents up to the 12th grade. It's all compiled by David Reidman, a former Homeland Security consultant. I find it particularly fascinating because it shows very clearly the epidemic we're currently having in the United States. And I say epidemic because there's no other way for me to describe it. Last year, 2023, we logged in a record 348 school shooting incidents, which means that for 95% of the year, we had a school shooting to match it. That number is up from 308 the previous year, which is up from 256 the year before that, and so on. To put this into perspective, in 2010, we recorded 15 total incidents. Since then, we've recorded 1,709. In 2010, we recorded 6 total deaths. Since then, we have recorded 508 dead. Side note, having to update these numbers over the course of writing my speech was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever had to do. The reason I say all of this isn't necessarily to convince anyone of anything, just to put into perspective all the factors that make gun violence in our country so deadly. Since we're down here in Texas, I'm sure all of you are well aware of Uvalde, so I'd like to look at preventative measures instead of frequency. Uvalde's had 1 shooter inside the building. On the flip side, there was 376 officers sent to the scene. Now, naturally, outweighing the shooter almost 400 to 1, it took them a whopping 77 minutes to enter the building. Now, rest assured, no police officers were killed that day. However, 19 students, aged 9 to 11, and 2 teachers were murdered. But it's important to consider why. Why was there such a lackluster response despite so many officers being on scene? Instead of getting into the nitty-gritty of the issues surrounding our police training, I'd like to instead look at a law passed in 1996, the Dickey Amendment. The Dickey Amendment effectively prevents the CDC from using its funding to advocate for gun control, which also barred them from conducting research regarding gun control. It wasn't until 2018 that Congress clarified that the CDC was able to research gun violence as long as it didn't promote gun control. But what all of this means is that every preventative measure we have been taking hasn't been based on any sort of federally funded research. Going back to Reidman, he said in an interview that, quote, "The lack of information is so stark, we end up making public policy decisions based on assumptions rather than data." We have lost lives of over 500 people in the last 14 years. Why are we entrusting our safety to assumptions? What makes it all doubly frustrating is that this law being in place is a testament to the idea that gun revenue is more important than the lives of the children we've lost. Here in Texas, to purchase a firearm, you are not required to conduct a background check. They simply check your ID to see if you're older than 21, and you're allowed to purchase a handgun. As a matter of fact, the Texas Gun Experience official website has a particular line that reads, and I quote, "Purchasing a firearm's a commitment, and you want to make sure you love your firearm before you take it home." They talk about purchasing a firearm as though you're purchasing a pet, as though it's a part of your family. Uvalde's 19-year-old gunman bought 2 AR-15s, one of which he bought the day after his 18th birthday. AR-15s fire at a rate of 45 rounds per minute with 30-round magazines. He bought 1,657 rounds of ammunition. Now, I could sit here for hours and talk to you about the school shooting-related events our country has gone through. How Columbine back in 1999 continues to influence shootings today. I could talk about all of this, but to many, it's become a tired topic. Because the fact of the matter is, we as a populace are becoming desensitized to gun violence. We as a populace are becoming desensitized to children losing their lives to firearms. But we are more than just a statistic. Smiley was more than just a statistic. Thank you.